nonsense and ridiculous. Let's check in on it.
Makes absolutely no sense. It never made any sense. And I know people like to say, well, they traded Miles, so anything can happen. I think this is a totally different case, a totally different position. And when you look at the situation, right, you look at the quarterback room and you understand all the install and learning of the system that has taken place. You've heard Andrew Berry and Todd Monken talk about the differences night and day.
The phone rang in Cleveland's front office, and nobody on the other end was offering what the Browns wanted to hear. That's the thing about this moment. Shedeur Sanders is sitting in the middle of a quarterback competition, trying to prove something to an organization that didn't even believe in him enough to draft him until the 5th round. And now, people are out here suggesting the Browns should just trade him away before he even gets a real shot. Let that sink in for a second. This kid went undrafted through 4 rounds. 32 teams passed on him, some of them twice. And when Cleveland finally picked up the phone and called his name, it felt like a lifeline. Not just for Shedeur, but honestly, for the Browns too. Because let's be real, this franchise needed something to believe in. They needed a story. And whether they knew it or not, Shedeur Sanders walked right into the building carrying one.
As far as the work he's put in the offseason and being in the middle of a quarterback competition, why in the world would you trade Shedeur Sanders, leaving Deshaun Watson as your starter, for a team that says they're trying to win this year?
Yeah, listen, I agree with just about everything that Scott said when it comes to the situation. I don't even know where this stuff came from. I haven't picked up any sort of any ideas or.
But Cleveland is complicated. It always has been. This is a city that has been burned so many times by quarterbacks, by trades, by promises that fell apart by week 6. The ghost of Deshaun Watson still haunts this roster. That trade, the one that cost them first-round picks and their dignity, it didn't just hurt on the field. It hurt the relationship between this team and its fans in a way that's still healing. And now they're staring down another quarterback situation that nobody really knows how to read. Todd Monken came in as offensive coordinator with a system and a vision. Andrew Berry has been quiet but deliberate in how he's constructed this roster. And somewhere in the middle of all that, Shedeur Sanders is running routes in practice, absorbing a playbook, learning a new language of football, and reportedly doing it at a level that's turning heads. That's what makes this whole trade rumor conversation so frustrating to anyone paying attention.
You have this quarterback situation you have right now, and you're the one guy that provides you some sign of hope that maybe there's something there. I think Scott put it perfectly. Like, there might be varying degrees of belief in that Shedeur can be that guy, but there is some small maybe percentage that he could turn into the franchise quarterback. So you should probably just see that through. Like, they didn't invest in the quarterback position this offseason other than Taylor Green, who he's not ready to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. So like they
You've heard the reports. Todd Monken and Andrew Berry have both spoken about the difference between who Shedeur was when he walked in and who he is now. Night and day, they said. That's not nothing. That's an evaluation from the people inside the building. That's the coaches and the front office watching film every day, watching this young man compete, and coming away impressed. So where exactly is this narrative coming from that he needs to be shipped out? Here's the thing about Shedeur Sanders that people keep forgetting in all of this noise. He was a backup for most of last year. 3rd string at times, 2nd string when things shifted. And he handled it. He didn't blow up. He didn't demand a trade. He didn't go on social media and start fires. He just stayed ready. And that's not a small thing for a quarterback who came into the league with the kind of attention and expectations he was carrying. Because the attention around Shedeur was never just about football. His father is Deion Sanders, primetime, one of the most magnetic personalities in sports history. And that comes with an audience, a massive one. But it also comes with a target. Every incomplete pass gets amplified. Every sideline moment gets dissected. Every single interaction becomes content. And there are people in this media ecosystem who benefit from the controversy, who need the drama to keep clicks coming, who would honestly prefer Shedeur fail just so they have something to write about.
Just a PR standpoint, Earl, we know how this fan base and a large portion of the city feels about Deshaun Watson. He is now associated with a bad era of Browns football that does have that playoff appearance in there in 2023 that he wasn't necessarily a part of in the moment. But like, they associate that trade with bad memories, the worst trade in NFL history. People don't like him as a person, as a player. All those reasons we all know. Like, if you trade.
That's the uncomfortable truth sitting underneath all of this. When certain media voices started pushing the idea that Shedeur Sanders should be traded or that he can't even function as a backup quarterback, ask yourself, who does that actually serve? Who benefits from Cleveland moving on from a young quarterback who hasn't even taken a meaningful regular season snap yet? Because it's not the Browns, it's not the fans, and it's certainly not Shedeur. The honest answer is that some of these narratives are driven by exhaustion. Social media backlash about how people cover Shedeur Sanders has been relentless, and when you're in that cycle long enough, sometimes the easiest exit is just hoping the subject goes away. If Shedeur leaves Cleveland, the conversation stops, the comments stop, the criticism stops. But that's not a football reason. That's a personal comfort reason dressed up as analysis, and fans in Cleveland deserve better than that. This is a fan base that still shows up, that still buys tickets, that still argues about the team in barbershops and family group chats and on every corner of the internet. These people have been through the expansion era, the endless draft busts, the years of losing that didn't just lose games, but lost generations of fans. They stuck around. And now they're being asked to invest emotionally in yet another quarterback situation. Except this time, there's actually a young guy in the building who's doing the work, getting better, and hasn't been given a fair chance to fail or succeed yet. That matters.
Absolutely nothing to do with Shedeur Sanders himself.
Yeah, I agree.
And the people in the media who are saying this are the people, in my opinion, that's experiencing some of the issues and want those issues to go away. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the social media backlash. I'm talking about the social media pondering. I'm talking about everything that goes on in the cycle of the internet world when it comes to how people feel about the coverage of Shedeur Sanders, their opinion of other people's opinion of him, etc.
It would just be
You also can't ignore the business reality here. Cleveland is building toward a new stadium. 2029 is the target. And between now and then, this franchise needs to give people a reason to stay connected, to stay curious, to keep caring. Trading Shedeur Sanders and handing the reins entirely to Deshaun Watson, a quarterback who carries enormous controversy and very little fan support at this point, is not a marketing strategy. It's a surrender. It tells the fan base that you have nothing new to offer them. Shedeur Sanders, love him or question him, is something new. He's an unknown quantity with real talent and real upside, and a name that carries weight in football culture. You don't throw that away based on a rumor cycle in the summer. Now let's be clear about something. None of this means Shedeur Sanders is guaranteed to win the starting job. The competition is real. The pressure is real. Deshaun Watson is still on this roster and still has NFL experience and weapons around him. This isn't handed to anybody. It shouldn't be. Shedeur himself wouldn't want it handed to him because winning it clean is the only way it means anything. But the fact that the Browns have invested in developing him, that the coaching staff is speaking positively about his progress, that management is signaling belief, that tells you the conversation has moved beyond whether he belongs in the league. The question now is just how far he can go.
And here's what nobody wants to say out loud. There is a version of this, a real, legitimate version, where Shedeur Sanders becomes the guy, where he wins the competition, earns the starting job, and gives Cleveland something they haven't had in a very long time. A young quarterback they drafted, developed, and believe in. That version is possible. Maybe not certain, maybe even unlikely by some projections, but it's possible. And that possibility alone is worth protecting. If you've been watching this story unfold and you actually care about Cleveland football, about what this franchise is trying to build, about the real human being at the center of all this noise, hit subscribe. This channel is where the real conversation happens. Not the clickbait, not the manufactured drama, just honest takes on what's actually going on in the NFL. Because here's where this all lands. Grant Delpit is likely getting his extension. The defense is being tended to. The organization is making moves that suggest they're serious about building something. And in the middle of all that, Shedeur Sanders is in the facility every day, putting the work in, getting better, refusing to let the outside world decide what his story is going to be. That's who he is. The kid who got skipped over, who heard 32 organizations look at his tape, look at his father's name, look at his college production, and still say no. And then walked into Cleveland and got to work anyway. No drama, no entitlement, just competition.
You can doubt him. That's fair. This league is hard, and the margin for error at quarterback is almost non-existent.
But trading him right now, before he's had a real chance, before anyone knows what he can actually be, in a real NFL system, with real NFL weapons around him, that's not analysis. That's fear dressed up as a roster decision. Cleveland has a decision to make this summer and into the fall. In the smart money, the patient money, the kind of thinking that builds franchises instead of dismantling them, it says you let this play out. You let Shedeur compete. You find out what you have. Because the only thing worse than drafting a quarterback who doesn't pan out is trading a quarterback who turns into something before you ever gave him the chance to show you what that something was. The Browns have been down that road before. This time, maybe they stay the course.